Hey, scrappy people, it's Tracy Reed here today, coming at you with a life-crafted album layout using the Citrus Twist Kit's Fresh Starts collection, and I'm using some of the cut files available for January as well. So we are starting in Silhouette today so that I can show you how to use your digital downloads from Citrus Twist with their cut files so that you only print what is necessary and you make sure everything fits perfectly. So I'm going to be using this circular cut file today, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete the other two. And then I'm going to drag this over here, and then I'm going to duplicate it by holding down Command Option or Control Alt and holding Shift to just make sure it drags straight. And then I'm going to right click and release compound path so that I can delete this outside edge and end up with just the black circles, because what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to not only be cutting this part, but I want the silhouette to do the work for me and cut the circles as well. So I'm going to be filling some of these circles with photos, and I'm going to be filling some with papers. So I decided that I wanted this outside edge, this border, to be the wood veneer. Obviously, if you have this in physical form, you can just go ahead and send it through the silhouette normally, but I'm going to print and cut it. And then I want this, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4 are going to be photos. So I need some papers to fill in these extra bubbles. And now I can, again, print and cut from physical product, but because I have the digital files, it's easier for me to just resize things to fit perfectly and have the silhouette do all the work for me. So I'm going to go ahead and use the digital files to do that. I'm going to be pairing this collection with photos from my roller rink adventure with Finn. So I want the papers that I choose to be nice and colorful. So I'm going to use this journal card and I'm going to fill in this bubble. And I think I want blue up here for this bubble. You can see that this drags and drops in very small, so I'm going to resize it. And I'm going to do that by clicking on the circle and then going to the fill palette, and then I'm going to go to pattern up here, and you can use these buttons to pan your pattern and to resize it. So I'm actually going to resize it 300% to get back up to the appropriate size, and I can move it around using pan pattern as well. I don't need to do that for this one specifically, but let's see what else we got going on here. I'm going to drag and drop this yellow. Actually, I think I want this yellow. Yes, and I'm going to resize this to 300 as well so that it is more the appropriate size. What Silhouette does is it automatically resizes whatever you drop into that circle as small as possible to fit into that circle. So that's why you need to resize the patterns a bit. Obviously, you don't want to make it huge, but I'm just trying to resize it back to the size it's supposed to be. And I want this to have this little, oh, that did not drop appropriately. Let's try that again. All right, there we go. I can resize this one and try and get like a butterfly in the middle here. So this is where I'm going to pan pattern. I'm going to move this pattern around until I have like a butterfly I want. That'll work. And then lastly, I think I'm going to drag in some more green. They're two different color greens, so it's not going to be that big of a deal. Drop this one in here, resize it 300% again. And I have all of my papers. And so now I need to drag and drop in my photos as well. 3 or 4 photos here that are all square and black and white. And the reason that I did in black and white is because I'm pairing them with a very vibrant photo on the left-hand side of this layout. And also they're not very good quality. They're very like blurry because we were in a dark roller skating rink. So changing them to black and white makes them a little bit less obviously terrible. And the reason that I crop them to squares is because circles are basically round squares. So it makes it easier for me to adjust the photos in Silhouette without having to pan them around or whatever if they're already basically the right size. So I'm going to go ahead and, just like I did with the papers, I'm going to drag and drop these photos into the circles. Well, maybe they want to go into the circles. There we go. And once I get them all full, I'm going to prepare this file for print. So I want to print my photos on photo paper and my papers on matte cardstock, matte Epson Premium Presentation paper. So they cannot be like together in this grouping because I'm gonna have to create two separate files to print them. So if I were to print all of the things as one like sheet on one piece of paper, this would be very simple, because what I want to do is I want to actually cut outside the size of the circle because I want there to be a border for adhesive. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to click and drag to select all of these circles at once, and then I'm going to go to the offset dialog, and I'm going to offset the selected shape. Now you can see what this does is there's actually overlap here. So once I click away from this, this will actually cut as all one piece, if that is what I want. So if I click here, you can see it joins the circles and it cuts all as one piece. Now I don't actually want to do that for this specific layout because I'm going to print the photos separately. So I'm going to undo that. And I'm going to separate these circles so that they are farther apart. I'm actually going to pull these down here so that they become their own thing. And I'm going to pull these up here so that they become their own thing. And I don't want them to group together, so I'm going to make sure that they're nice and separated. And then I'm going to repeat the process again so that they extend the cut area past the, or they offset the cut area past the edge of the paper, but they're not connected. So all of these are now their own little individual pieces. So then all I'm going to do is I'm going to pull these off the canvas, and I have, oh, we lost something here. I have an 8.5 by 11 printer, so I need to make an 8.5 by 11 print sheet for both of these, and I will show you how I do it with this. So we're going to go to paper size. We want it to be 8.5 by 11. And then I also need my cutting marks on. So we're going to turn them on and down to the smallest size possible so that I have the most print room. My goodness, those were long. So that I have the most print room possible for this sheet. So then we're going to make sure that everything lines up here, and then we can go ahead, and once we have all of these arranged, we can go ahead and print. Now what I do, because I don't want to test this out and have to print things twice, I'm not sure if the Silhouette, because I have auto trace on, will cut this twice because there is a cut blade, or there's a cut line around this paper. So what I do is I print the way that it is, so that everything prints correctly. And then once I have it printed, I'm actually just going to go ahead and delete the papers so that it only cuts this line once it's printed. I don't need to do it for this other one because there's only one cut line, but just to make sure. I don't know, you can let me know in the comments below if it won't cut around the papers, but it looks like to me it's going to cut around the papers even though I offset the cut line. So I just go ahead and delete them after I print because obviously I want them to print. And then I can send it to the Silhouette from there and repeat the process with the photos as well. Alright, so I've got everything cut out, and you can see with this white border, they fit
slightly larger than the circles themselves, so you can use that extra space to put down with adhesive. I'm going to be backing this whole thing with paper, so I don't need to worry about that so much, but it is a good tip if you are wanting to do that, like to have it be see-through or something like that. So here are my papers. Here comes a cat. Anyway, I'm gonna go to the voiceover portion of this video and we will see what we can do.
Okay, so now it's just a matter of assembling this cut file. So I'm going to add some adhesive to the inside edge and just put down that one edge so that I can put all of my photos and papers under the circles by sliding them in and making sure that they all fit correctly. Then when I have that done, I'm going to put adhesive on all of the remaining edges, and then I'm going to use liquid glue around the circular parts of the cut file to make sure that everything sticks down throughout the whole thing, because you will get some lifting edges if you don't adhere the middle parts as well. I had this black paper left over from, I'm using a lot of black paper this month, and I just felt like it really fit the vibe of a roller skating rink. It made the colors a little bit more vibrant, plus it really matched that photo on the right or the left hand side, so I decided to go with black. I'm going to use these purple alphabets from the Citrus Twist store. On what planet do I normally have photos that will match these purple alphabets? Hardly any planets, so I just went for it and used a big old title and curved it around the circles. And then I'm using some of the chipboard stars. I decided to use 3 different colors to add into the colorful vibe of the layout. I'm going to use this light blue because this page is getting really heavy on purple, and it ends up being kind of heavy on yellow too, so I wanted to make sure I bring in some other colors. I'm going to use these enamel dots in places where I feel like there needed to be a couple more pops of color. Pro tip, the way that I make sure that the colors are distributed evenly and that everything feels balanced is I actually unfocus my eyes when I am looking at a page and trying to decide if it needs something else, because this is what I'm doing right here. Because I find that if I'm looking at it as a whole and just seeing color rather than each individual piece, it helps me to make sure that everything feels nice and balanced. So I've got all those enamel dots down. I'm going to add in a couple more of these bits and pieces that I have pulled off of the edge, or pulled off of the puffy stickers. Initially, I was trying to make just the puffy stickers and the ephemera from the Fresh Starts collection work on this page. I wanted to mainly emphasize the Fresh Starts collection with some bits and pieces that are in the store, but there were so many cute things in the Flea Market Findings collection that matched this page that I ended up bringing in the Flea Market Findings collection too. I wanted to use these blue doilies because it brought in some more of the blue from that top right corner, and I realized that there were 2 doilies stacked together when that happened, so oops. But I'm going to pull in this yellow ephemera that I had initially put away because it just matched the whole feel of the layout with all of the circles. I wanted to put it at the top, but I felt like if I cut off the top rather than the bottom, it wouldn't have looked as good. So I ended up putting it at the bottom instead. And even though there's yellow down at the bottom of the other side, and so it feels kind of yellow heavy on the bottom, I just decided to go with it. Not everything can be perfect all of the time, but it doesn't end up looking too out of whack because I do end up putting yellow at the top there too, so it works. I had a little bit of a struggle with this top cluster, and that's why I ended up bringing in the Flea Market Findings collection, because this Enjoy the Little Things word bit here, it was just too small for the kind of impact that I wanted it to have, and so I kept trying to make it work, but it was just too small. So I'm going to go into the Flea Market Findings collection. I'm going to pull out some chipboard from that collection, and also this yellow smiley face because I felt like it really matched the vibe of a roller skating rink. I love this. It says let's hold hands because I held hands with Finn all the way around and around and around and around that roller skating rink to keep him standing. It's only like his second time roller skating, so I had to hold him up. Then I found this big happy day word bit that fits so much better than the enjoy the little things, and that was it for this video. So if you enjoyed it, I'd love it if you give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. I'd love to have you. If you don't already, you can follow me over on Instagram. I'm at Tracy M. Reed, and I will see you next time. Thank you.